this. I would like to start with a quote from Jamie Harrison, the DNC chair, who Claire and David Glidden and I were lucky enough to hear speak when we went to the Association of State Democratic Chairs meeting in Charleston. This was not so long after the very sad, disappointing Virginia results, Virginia governor's race. And so he was clearly reflecting on that. But I think these are really words of hope that I wanted to share with all of us. They stuck with me. This is from DNC Chair Jamie Harrison. Let's stop agonizing and start organizing. We can build an electoral coalition that can win even in the hardest of midterms. Our opponents don't believe in an America that is strong enough for all of us. We will continue to build an America that does right by everyone. With that, we will proceed to the roll call, confirmation of quorum. Oh, and I just wanted to mention that our great secretary, Tafim Dean, has to leave at 10:40 for an important engagement. So if we're still going, then Claire has kindly offered to take over minutes. So thank you. Roll call, David Glidden is prepared to do that.
Yes, hello friends. So I will call names. I am notoriously bad at pronouncing your names, so please feel free to correct me because I do want to get it right. And please tell me if you are present or present and voting. So I'm going to start with Addison County, Zoe Kaslow.
Present and voting.
Fantastic. Abigail Bloom.
Present and voting.
Dave Silberman.
Present and voting.
Andrew Pazzulo. Jeannie Alpert. Stefan Butterfield.
Oh. Pazzulo's here.
Just great. Bennington County.
Present.
Perfect.
Oh, Andrew Pazzulo's here.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm here. I'm having trouble.
Okay. Duly noted. James Ramsey of Bennington County.
Present and voting.
Great. Asher Edelson.
Present and voting.
Susan Borden.
Present and voting.
Alexandra Hines. Lynn Maza. Jeff Cleary. Caledonia County, Mimi Smythe.
Present and voting.
Susan Pacala. Stephen Amos.
Nope.
Joanna Polsenberg. Keith Balat.
Did you get Steve Amos?
Perfect, thank you. Keith Balat. Dennis LaBounty. Chittenden County, Ed Cafferty. Carol Smith.
Present and
Ed's
voting.
here.
Oh,
You saw that Ed is here.
Perfect, duly noted. And Andrew Champagne.
Hey, David, from beautiful Burlington, present and voting.
Great. Michael Ross.
Present.
Julia Barnes. Skylar Nash.
Sorry, I'm here.
Oh, thank you, Julia. Essex County, Laura Wilson.
Present and voting.
Ed Clark.
Present and voting.
Fantastic. Franklin County, David Glidden. Present and voting. Lauren Dees Erickson.
Present and voting.
Ryer Erickson.
Present and voting.
Mike McCarthy.
Present, but not voting.
Perfect. Noah Detzer.
Present.
Ewan Bear. Grand Isle County, Mitzi Johnson. Carol Tremblay.
Present and voting.
Rich Gogan. Doug D. Sabito. DeSabato. Lamoille County, Scott Weathers.
Present and voting.
Dan Noyes. Marina Merberg.
Present.
Elena Hunt. Lee Rurak. Leo Clark. Orange County, Sherry Merrick. Kelsey Root Oh, thank you. Kelsey Root Winchester.
Present and voting.
Perry Kasich.
Present and voting.
Jill Michaels. Paul Perkins. Justin Will. Orleans County, Brian Carroll.
Present and voting.
Benjamin Applegate.
Present and voting.
Samantha Stephen Kinsley. Walter Midwide. Mary Beth Midweed. Jane Malgiri.
No, rain, roll call.
Rutland County, Noah French. Heather Julison Stevenson.
Present and voting.
Joshua Ferguson. Barbara Noyes Pulling. Carol Wright. Annie Stratton. Washington County, Dorothy Kyle. Elsie Thorson.
Present and voting.
And
I saw Dottie.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
I couldn't unmute myself for a minute.
Awesome. I will mark you down as present and voting, Dottie. Matt Levine.
Levin, present and voting.
I knew that one. Amanda Guston.
Present, not voting.
Jeb Bouchard.
Present.
Connor Casey. Windham County, Angela Lawrence.
Present and voting.
Will Croffer.
I'm voting.
Tim Harris.
Present and voting.
Laura Shareball. Kelly Frost. Ian Heffley. Windsor County.
Heffela.
Oh, Heffela, thank you. Windsor County, Susan Waterman. Shar Osterlin.
Present and voting.
Ted Cody.
Present and voting.
Dottie Deans.
Present and voting.
Melinda Major. Allison
So
Clarkson.
there are
75 people.
Perfect. Allison Clarkson. Great. That brings us to our DNC delegates. Tim German. Mary Sullivan.
I see Tim.
Oh,
Tim is muted.
I will mark Tim as present and voting.
Sorry.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Tim. Mary Sullivan.
Present and voting.
Perfect. That brings us to the officers not otherwise called. Ann Lezak.
I am present and voting.
Great. Tafine Dean.
Present and voting.
Deb Barrier.
Present and voting.
Awesome. And now executive committees who are not otherwise on state committee. Liz Brown. Samantha Sheehan.
Present.
Ryan McLaren.
Present.
Terry Anderson.
Present.
Hannah King.
Present.
Stefan Gillum. Sarah Swank. Brenda Churchill.
Present.
And Bruce Olson.
Present.
Awesome. That is roll call, and I do believe we have a quorum. I turn it back to the chair.
Thank you very much. Next on our business is review and approval of the minutes from the November 13th state reorganization meeting. And I would like a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
And
Susan
that is who?
Susan Borden.
Okay, and a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, and I just want to make sure you see that Dennis LaBounty is also present and voting. So the minutes are now under discussion. Are there any corrections? Going once, going twice. Is the body ready to vote on the minutes? Which we'll do by voice vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Of course, I forgot to ask you to unmute yourself. Sorry about that.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. Okay, next on our list, we have the ratification of the designated executive committee nominations. And I am going to read those to you. So I want people to understand that designated nominations for the executive committee means that there are folks who are on the executive committee who are nominated by certain bodies or groups. And so that's what I'm going to read to you now. And so again, we have the officers of the state committee: Ann Lezak, David Glidden, Tafine Dean, Deb Barrier, and Noah Detzer. Then we have the DNC national chairman and national chairwoman, Tim German and Mary Sullivan. The Senator Leahy nomination is Samantha Sheehan. Representative Welch nomination, Congressman Welch, Ryan McLaren. State Senate nomination, Senator Jeanette White. State House nomination, Representative Mike McCarthy. Lieutenant Governor nomination, Liz Brown. Labor Union nomination is Martha Allen. And the youth nomination is Owen Doherty. I want to say that Martha Allen is replacing Bruce Olson, who will be on the committee as a former chair. And the youth nomination, Owen Doherty, is replacing Hannah King, who, among other things, is we are very proud she's running for City Council of Burlington. So she kind of has her hands full. So we are very happy to welcome Owen Doherty. Affirmative action nomination is Brenda Churchill, and that was chosen as part of the platform committee process during the election. So she's still remains our affirmative action nominee. Then we have two immediate past chairs who I'm very happy to have because they've already provide all kinds of wisdom and help. And that's Bruce Olson and Terry Anderson. Now what we're going to do is vote on the 4 at-large members. And these at-large members will then be added to the executive committee. So that will be your total executive committee. So we have 4 folks who've declared them as themselves as nominees. I'm going to list Ed Cafferty first because I made a big oops and I spelled his name wrong on the agenda that went out. I confused, anyway, never mind. It's Ed Cafferty. And we also have Julia Barnes, Asher Edelson, and Dennis LaBounty. Those are folks who you should have received their candidate statements beforehand. We now will take further nominations from the floor. And then what we'll do is once we have all the nominees in alphabetical order, we will give each nominee up to 2 minutes to speak. And just to make sure, because we have a lot of business to cover and don't want to keep you here too long, I've asked my colleague David Glidden to be the 2-minute timer. So are there further folks who would like to declare their candidacies from the floor? And I'll give I'll give 1 more minute to think about that. Well, hearing none, gone. All right, so we have 4 candidates and 4 positions. And what this means is that at this point, I'd like to ask for a motion that 1 ballot be cast. And yeah, and then that, and so what we'll do is I would like someone to move that. We'll second it, and then we'll hold a voice vote.
Laura
So-
Wilson, so moved.
I'm sorry, what?
Laura Wilson, so moved.
Steve Amos, I'll second.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will now have a voice vote. So unmute yourselves.
So there's just been a motion made to essentially elect these 4 people unanimously without an election. So there's the language that we use historically in the party that comes from many years ago about casting 1 ballot, which is 1 unanimous ballot, that the record shows that we all support the candidate in question. And we traditionally use that when there's an uncontested election, partly because it makes things simple, but also to show our support for the people who are running. So the motion is to cast a single unanimous ballot for the 4 candidates in question for the uncontested, in this case, because it's an uncontested.
Matt, I appreciate your explaining that. Thank you. And
one other thing, and we are going to have to go back and vote to accept the other nominated positions. That needs to be affirmed by the full state committee.
oh yes, I did mean to do that. So let me finish this since we're in the process. And you're absolutely right that I skipped over that. And again, that's why you're here. Thank you. It's even in my notes. So what I would like to do is, so that we can get to know all of you, and because you prepared these statements, if you did, I would welcome our candidates to have 2 minutes to introduce yourselves and tell us why you're running. So if we could start with Julia Barnes, and you don't have to, but you're welcome to.
Oh, I'm happy to. Thanks, Anne. Nice to see everybody this morning. Hello to so many folks that I haven't had a chance to connect with personally in a while. It feels like the pandemic's been going on forever. I'm happy to rejoin you on Saturday morning. I am Julie Barnes. I'm the former executive director of the VDP. I served from 2012 to the end of 2015 with my dear friend Dottie Deans and Tim German. Over that course of time, I think I learned quite a bit about what it takes to have a functioning and healthy state party. And I think I have, I come to this with a really unique perspective, not just of having done Claire's job, but of also having spent a lot of my time since leaving the VDP, both leading the national state party organization, the ASDC, and also advising and consulting for progressive organizations, candidates, and advocacy groups across the country. So I feel really excited to reconnect with this organization that I love so deeply. And I really am looking forward to us having a great election year. So that's all I've got to say. Just I hope everybody is healthy and happy. And it really is lovely to see all of you. Thanks, Anne.
All right, thank you very much, Julia. And I would like to go on to Ed Cafferty.
Hello. First, I want to thank Anne for my new alias as Ed McCaffrey. I like it. I may use it. And a little bit of background. I am a professor at Champlain College. I teach human rights, democracy, environment, ethics, and courses like that. I've been engaged in politics, democratic politics, since I was a teenager. I've been involved with numerous campaigns. I've recruited candidates, raised money, done a number of different things. But I also have been engaged in policy issues. Most recently, I've been involved with the reapportionment of the state legislature using the U.S. Census data, which I think is an important issue that all of you should take a moment to look at. So I want to thank you all and for being here today, and I look forward to working on the executive committee.
We will now go to Asher Edelson. Asher, would you like to take 2 minutes?
Yes, thank you, Anne. Hello, everybody. I'm talking to you all right now with a rough case of Tourette syndrome, so bear with me, please. I'm a history teacher from North Bennington, Vermont. I am proud to be a part of this organization today. A little background. I'm the chair of the Bennington Town Democratic Party, the chair of the statewide SRC. I have been an advocate for people with disabilities as long as I've been alive. I'm also a lifelong Democrat, and I would really like to help represent folks with disabilities, young folks as well. I'm proud to live in Vermont, and I am dedicated to helping to make sure that this is a prosperous state and a place that is welcoming to all folks, regardless of whether or not they're marginalized or what have you. So it'll be an honor to serve on the executive committee. I believe that my perspective is progressive and practical enough to help shape this party to what it needs to be. And I believe that we are already on the right track. So I'm just proud to be a part of the process. So thank you all so very much. And I'm eager to serve. Thank you. And
Very
may the
good.
God of
Thank
your
you.
choice bless you.
And then we have Dennis LaBounty.
Good morning, everybody. Well, I've worked with the Democratic Party for over 25 years at one capacity or another. I was heavily involved with the party, I would say, the last 19 years when I was the political director of the Vermont AFL-CIO. I've worked on probably over 100 different campaigns over my career. That included federal and state and local office people that were running. I myself ran in the last 2 election cycles, and I came this close from winning in a very heavily Republican county of Caledonia County. I've also been at the State House for almost 19 years working on many issues, union issues as well as labor issues in general. So I have a lot of friends at the State House. And as my bio reflect that I was down in Washington, D.C., learning how to lobby back in 1997, which was an incredible experience. And I look forward to serving on this committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we will now, I think we did. We already moved and seconded. So we will now have a voice vote. So if you can unmute yourselves. All in favor of accepting our slate of candidates for the at-large seat, say aye.
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 All opposed? That has passed. And before we go back, I want to give thanks to Stephen Gillum and Sarah Swank, who served in these roles before and have decided to step down, and they both gave of themselves a lot over the past couple of years, and I really appreciate all they've brought to the party. And Martha Allen is already our labor member, so she's still on, and we just reelected Dennis LaBounty. So that's great. We have our executive committee, and I'm just going to let you know right now, and I'll be sending out a note very soon, that we are going to meet on February 2nd, Wednesday, February 2nd, in the early evening. So you'll hear from me very soon, now that we're reconstituted. I'm going to go back, and we need to ratify the designated executive committee nominations. Thanks for keeping me honest, Matt Levin. So again, what I would like is a motion that one ballot be cast. So again, that we unanimously elect all of them. And if someone can unmute and move. Oh,
I
Carol
so
Trimble,
move.
do you have a comment?
No, I just moved, just trying to
Okay,
move the
thank you
motion.
very much. Thank you. Okay, Carol Trimble, and second?
I'll second that.
I saw Dennis, very good. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we unanimously accept the designated executive committee nominations. So we will now move to a voice vote.
And could you just
Yes.
repeat? Could you just repeat who those people are so we know?
Yes.
We're reminded who we're voting on. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Let me get to my little list here. Executive committee. I'm not going to list the who nominated them again, because I did that, but I will read through the names. So that is Samantha Sheehan, Ryan McLaren, Senator Jeanette White, Representative Mike McCarthy, Liz Brown, Martha Allen, Owen Doherty, Brenda Churchill, and I think Bruce Olson and Terry Anderson are automatically on. No? Okay, so they're included too on this vote. Okay. Just to double cover myself, Tim German and Mary Sullivan are the DNC National Chairman and Chairwoman, and then we have the officers of the state committee, Ann Lezak, David Glidden, Tafine Dean, Deb Barrier, and Noah Detzer.
Right. We don't vote on the officers or the DNC committee.
I didn't think so. I just thought I better be over careful there. All right. So we're voting on the rest of these, and we've had a motion and it's been seconded. So we're ready for a voice vote. So all in favor? Aye. Oh.
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, let it be recorded that that was a unanimous voice vote. Thank you very much. All right, so that was some of the important business that we needed to do that is done every 2 years at this time. And so thank you very much. And I am just very excited to be working with our executive committee, and we have lots to do. It's an election year, if you hadn't noticed. So I'm going to move on now to the chair's report. And I would like to start, well, in addition to congratulating the executive committee, I would like to start with a brief tribute to Representative William Jewett, who died very recently. And Willem Jewett was a very beloved member of the House for many years. He served with my husband, who had a personal relationship, as I think everybody who served with him did. He was the House Majority Leader and was known for his sharp intellect, fierce advocate for causes he cared about, and his sparkling wit and sense of fun. Willem had legions of friends, both within and outside the legislature, and leaves behind his beloved wife and 2 daughters who people told me he'd never stop talking about. He was so proud of them. Willem used Act 39, which he actually helped to pass, which was the Choices at End of Life Act, or Patient Choices and Control at End of Life Act, to get a prescription and end his life on his own terms. He was suffering from a very serious cancer. And so he, that's a wonderful thing that he actually helped pass that legislation and then was able to use it. And for those of you interested, Dottie Deans, thank you for sending me the article that I think was in yesterday's Washington Post that actually is a wonderful article about Willem and about his being a proponent of the End of Life Choices Act and that he used it. I'll have a brief moment of silence. And I feel like I'm still new, and yet I also feel like I have been really, I've plunged in, and it's been an incredible ride so far. And I have been wonderfully supported by our terrific staff and fellow officers. And I can honestly, truthfully say there's no way I could have done it without them. And so I'm very, very appreciative. We are a great team, and we are ready and raring to go for this election season. So I'm very excited about that. Another very important piece, along with the executive committee, is our subcommittees. And one activity that I've been very busy with this past couple of weeks is making sure that we have really strong chairs and co-chairs. And I'm very happy that some of them are returning and that we also have some new ones. And I would like either David or Claire to actually put in the chat the list of chairs and co-chairs, which I'm now going to read to you, but I would like you to have them as well. And we'll be posting those, of course, too. But I thought everybody would like to see that. So these, I want you to know, because I don't want to take the time to read the roles of all these subcommittees. They all really contribute. They provide advice. They provide review. They really help spread the spirit and energy of the Democratic Party throughout the state in many, many ways. And I urge you, if you're not familiar with them, to go look at the VDP bylaws on the website, and you'll be able to see what each of these does. So chairs, and then when I'm done announcing the chairs, I'll talk about membership. The Budget and Finance Committee, that's in the bylaws. The chair is our treasurer, Deb Barrier, and the vice chair is our assistant treasurer, Noah Detzer. Field and Grassroots. I'm excited that we have co-chairs Connor Casey and Jenny Gartner. And fundraising, we have co-chairs Mary Sullivan and Jim Ramsey. Message and Communications, we have co-chairs Sam Donnelly and Tafine Dean. Bylaws, Chair Matt Levin. Platform, I forgot to write chair, but Chair Martha Allen. And I want to spend a couple of minutes here on the Equity, Diversity, Justice, and Inclusion, known as the EDGI Coalition. I want to give a lot of credit to Brenda Churchill and Stefan Gillum, who spent quite a bit of time with this group, organizing, discussing, coming up with goals, coming up with a process. And at this point, both David and I have spoken to them at some length. We've had some back and forths with emails, and they are ready to step off and hand it off to others. And it's really in process right now. And what I'd like to do, I know that several of you have signed up and that you would like to be involved in this. So we are going to start with that. I'm going to be reaching out to those of you in the next few days, as well as we have several folks who I've spoken to Claire. We have some people who are going to provide their expertise as consultants and trainers on this issue, which we absolutely need. Like many, many organizations around Vermont, we are still taking baby steps in this area. We are far, far behind many other states. And that was certainly driven in when we went to the conference in South Carolina and talked to other states. And one thing that other states have done, and that I've done some research into, which I think is a very exciting potential idea for us, is that many states have caucuses that are based on affinity groups. So for example, we might have a BIPOC caucus, an LGBTQIA plus caucus, a people with disabilities caucus, and there may be others. So this is something that is a very high priority, and I didn't, it's in conversation with Brenda and Stefan, I didn't want to take this jump without involving folks who want to really continue with this. And Brenda and Stefan have both offered that they will be they will be resources to us. They'll provide what they've come up with, and it will be very helpful. So we'll be hearing a lot more about this one very soon. As far as filling out the subcommittees, that is going to happen really probably in the next week. I, with the help of the committee chairs, will be making sure that we, welcome people on it. We have folks who have been on these committees for a long time who want to stay, which is wonderful. We have new people who have expressed interest through the survey that Claire sent out. And I hope that a number of you and a number of folks from your county committees, because you don't have to be on the state committee for most of these, have expressed interest. And then I will be also consulting with the chairs, because they may have folks who they know, who they feel would be really great for these. So that's really going to happen in the next week or so. So if you are on a subcommittee or have been, if you want to be and have expressed interest, you will be hearing from David or me or Claire very soon. So get ready. Certainly by the end of next week is my plan. And then you will also, I've spoken to the chairs, and I believe that every one of them will be planning to have a meeting in February. So we will get up and running, and that's very exciting and a really important part of this Democratic Party. So if you haven't expressed interest yet and you see one of these, feel free to reach out to me, to David, or to one of the co-chairs. So moving on, in case you haven't noticed, and I think you have, we have a pretty darn exciting election season coming up. We have amazing candidates already announced for a number of races. And I think there have been 3 or 4 more just in the last couple of weeks. So this is a happening time for us, and it's very exciting. And part of supporting candidates, as they will tell you, and as we know very well, and as I know from being part of the party for many years, is guess what? Making sure that we have the resources to support them so that we can have, a really strong support as far as a data director, and the ability to support folks through a field director, and be able to give, target resources where they're most needed, when they're needed, so that we're on top of it. So we're able to reach out and really help the counties do the very important work that they do. Because I can tell you, as a former county chair, it really mattered to our candidates from all the way up the top, from down to the House candidates, that we on the ground had the data we need, the training we needed, the help we needed. So that's what we're very, very busy working on. And part of that is our very exciting Power Vermont Blue campaign, which I hope you've all heard of. And I give tremendous credit to our wonderful Kate Olney, our finance chair, who's organized it. And she is so excited about it. And she's made it really fun, because it's a contest. And I'm not going to go into the details now, but I would like, I've asked, I don't know who's going to do it, David or Claire, to actually pop the toolkit into the chat box if you don't already have it, and I hope you all do. And feel free to share it with your town chairs, which I believe we've done also. So basically what we're doing really simply, and then we're going to move on, is we want everybody, every Democrat to join the Dems Club, which is really to donate every month. Some folks will be able to give $25, $35, $50 a month. Others will come in at $5 or $10. That's absolutely fine. It's great. And there are going to be prizes for the counties that have the highest numbers. And those prizes are in terms of the funds that come directly back to your county. We already have a system where, now I forgot, is it 20 or 25%? Somebody tell me, that comes back to the county directly from every Dems member who signs up. And not just the donate every month members, but if someone wants to give as a one-time donation also. So you're already getting that.
It's 20.
It's 20.
It's 20.
20%?
25. This is Deb.
25%. Okay, great. So we're hoping that you are really urging your folks to become a donate every month member. And we've already had some incredible, wonderful surge of folks joining at every level, which is fantastic, but we need many, many more. So we hope that you'll help us. It's really easy to do. It's following the toolkit. So let me know, have I missed anything on that, partners? I think that's it. And we're just very excited. And we are really working together on this. And we will be announcing the winners. This goes through town meeting day, through March 1st. So we don't have much time. We have a little over a month. And again, this is a pretty simple way to get people activated and quite painless. And I can tell you that people feel really good when they are part of that Donate Every Month Club and they know they've joined in. I can tell you it hasn't taken much to get my friends to say, oh yeah, of course, I'll do it. And it really just takes a phone call or an email in many, many cases. So speaking of campaigns, I would now like to turn it over to David Glidden and to give the coordinated campaign update.
Hello, friends. So I have a little PowerPoint to share because I'm not always the most organized and will definitely leave something out if I didn't do that. So this is sort of a 101 of what is a coordinated campaign for our new members, and then an explanation for those who've been around a while but can always use a refresher. Okay, so coordinated campaign. What is a coordinated campaign? Coordinated campaign is a pooling of resources. So all of our wonderful Democratic candidates from federal Senate on down to state rep pool their resources in the form of buy-ins. And this is designed to reduce redundancy and raise all boats. So what do I mean by that? It doesn't necessarily make sense for our Senate candidate to have an office in Brattleboro along with our state house reps and all of that. So instead we have one office, we pool resources. It also reduces redundancy in the form of hopefully you get one phone call asking about multiple candidates instead of multiple phone calls asking about one candidate. It also gives a much easier centralized volunteer point. It's really focused on field, which is the campaign term for sort of direct voter contact, whether that's door knocking, a little bit of texting, phone calls, and then some digital could be deemed field. So who does what in a coordinated campaign? Our coordinated campaign is overseen by the table, which is the campaigns that pool their resources, that buy into it, oversee the resources. Functionally, for those of you that are familiar with the nonprofit world, the Vermont Democratic Party operates a bit as the fiscal agent. We can make sure everything's in compliance and all of that, but we can't really tell them how to spend their money. Our coordinated campaign plan for this year is being designed by myself, the incredible Claire Cummings, and Cameron Russell, who in 2016 was the coordinated campaign director when we picked up 10 House seats, which is kind of amazing. And then since then has also been the campaign manager for campaigns that have bought into the coordinated. So we thought his experience was really welcome. This will have a dedicated coordinated campaign director, so someone that oversees it all so that Claire can assist, but also is able to do other things. And I will be chairing the table, which is a little bit of a funny way to say making sure Anne and Claire can have really positive relationships, and I will do my social worker magic of hoping the campaigns all get along. So what is going to be different in 2022? This year, we're doing a separate brand. We're leaning towards 802 Blue. This is something a lot of other states do, and we're looking at launching for the first time ever this year. But there's a couple reasons for that. One of which is I'm sure we've all gotten 1,001 phone calls asking us to volunteer with the Vermont Democratic Party. And as someone who has made plenty of those phone calls, sometimes you get funny things back like, oh, I went really hard for Howard Dean in 2004 and I'm taking a little break. Well, with a new brand, hopefully we can get folks re-engaged. It also, if you look at sort of the landscape of where people put their time and energy, we have things like Rights and Democracy, Alliance for a Better Vermont, and the Vermont Democratic Party has always used the same brand. So by branding the coordinated separately, we might be able to really have a new appeal to folks. We're really going to be field focused. Last cycle, we did a lot of digital. It was the middle of a pandemic. We also did some mail. This year, we're really looking at phone calls, texting, and door knocking. We're also planning on in-person offices. Right now, Mayo Clinic shows that hopefully this wave will end by the time we're really campaigning. And how we utilize offices may be a little different, but what we learned in 2020 was having a central location for distributing, whether that's mail lists, door knocking lists, phone call lists, and yard signs. It's really important to have some physical locations. So we might not have the 11 offices we had in 2016, but we do plan to have a physical presence. So what is next with the coordinated campaign? We will be building the coordinated director job description and filling out the hiring committee. This is the process we're currently in. And then we're going to begin meetings with campaigns to collect feedback and what we're thinking. So making sure our vision as a party aligns with their vision of what they need as campaigns, and then signing what are called MOUs, memorandums of understandings, and buy-in agreements so that we have the resources. Because this is sort of plunked in the middle of Anne's amazing chair updates, I really invite you to send questions to dglidden at vtdemocrats.org. I'll put that in the chat and I'll address questions in the chat. But that is sort of where we're at with a coordinated campaign and what is a coordinated campaign. Did I leave anything out, Chair Lezak?
That was really great. And it was really nice to have the visual too. Thank you so much. So I'm sure that we can make that available for folks if you would like to have that to refer to. Thanks very much. Great. Okay, you can see why I asked David to do this and why we are so excited that he and Cameron Russell are going to be our super duper amazing coordinators of the coordinated campaign. And yes, so moving on. All right. I have to tell you that, as I said, this has been a deep plunge for me. It's been really exciting. It's been amazing. I have learned so much. And again, without the folks who contribute so much to the party, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. So with that as a background, I'm going to now talk about redistricting, which happens every 10 years, as we know, reapportionment. And it's a really important process. It's important enough that I asked our wonderful Jeannie Albert, who is the Democrat, she's the VDP's member on the Legislative Apportionment Board, which has now completed its work for the Vermont House and Senate. I can't even imagine how many hours she spent on this, but we are really so grateful to her. And among the many other services she's done is she actually spent time and gave a little 101 tutorial to me and David, which was really helpful. And then she was kind enough, because I don't want to miss anything, she was kind enough to write up, I asked her to write up what we should really share with you folks at the state committee. This is a very big deal because, as we know, reapportionment, once, as we said, it only happens every 10 years. And it really makes a difference. As you can see, in some states, there's some very serious, very suspect gerrymandering going around, and districts will change in ways that really benefit the Republicans, which is very, very painful. We are not doing gerrymandering here. Jeannie was very clear with that. And yet we certainly want to make sure that the districts are fair, reasonable, make sense, and don't really hurt a lot of Democrats. So with that, I'm going to, so that I don't misspeak, I'm going to actually share some of what Jeannie said. And this is a few minutes long, but I think it's worth it because it really matters. And you're going to see there's a call to action at the end. So as I said, the Legislative Apportionment Board, the LAB, has completed its work. Per statute, the LAB delivered to the legislature district maps and accompanying descriptive reports. And the LAB member selected by the VDP, Jeannie Albert, prepared alternative House and Senate district plans, because those House and Senate plans, which were passed by a bare majority of the 7-member board, 4-3, supported plans, which I'm sure you've read about, include only single-member districts, which just doesn't make sense on many levels. So Jeannie Albert spent a tremendous amount of time, energy, and brain power preparing alternatives House and district plans, which include a mix of single and multi-member districts. These maps and reports were endorsed by the LAB's 3-member minority. Not surprisingly, the 4-member majority didn't accept those because they had voted for the other one. I want you to know that you can easily find all this work, including the reports, the maps, some minority reports, at the Secretary of State's website. And rather than read out the email, it's very easy to find. Just go to Secretary of State and go to reapportionment, and it's in the map drafts tab. Where are we now? This is a fast moving process, and it has to be, because it has to be done. There's a back end really limit, because we have to be able to know these districts so that we can get we can get ballots to voters. It would also be kind of nice to know the districts so that we can tell our candidates and recruit candidates. Obviously, that's a very big deal. So under Vermont law, the legislature can either adopt the LAB's official, which is that a majority supported a proposal, and enact them into law, or it can develop its own plans. Well, what's happened now? In the House, the Government Operations Committee, headed by Sarah Copeland-Hansis, oversees redistricting and has rejected the LAB's majority plan. Now what's happening? The first step is the House enacts its first step redistricting legislation, which is then shared with cities and towns for feedback. This is a really important part, and it leads to my call for action later on. The GovOps Committee also plans to conduct region-based info meetings. So we all want to make sure, and maybe we'll publish those too. We can do those on the DEMS website so that you can let people know when those meetings are. But we want people to know about those and to go, and you can find those on the Secretary of State's website. The GovOps Committee chose the LAB's alternative House plan, and it passed the full House on Tuesday, January 8th. It now proceeds to the Senate and then to the governor. After receiving feedback, and again, this is a very fast process, by mid-February, they're going to be done with the feedback, and they're going to draft the final redistricting plan, which will take into consideration the kinds of feedback that the committee hears from towns, civil boards of authority, CBAs, and legislators. And at these meetings, they will draft its final redistricting plan and enact it into law. Meanwhile, on the Senate side, the Senate has created a special reapportionment committee for this work also. which largely overlaps the GovOps committee, including its chair. The committee is hearing testimony. It was hearing testimony this week. So this past week on the majority and alternate district plan. So you can see this is happening as we speak. The city and town boards of civil authorities, as I said, will be asked to provide feedback about the alternative house plan. So it makes sense for us for you active Democrats, especially at the town level, to, if you have opinions on these for your particular district, talk to your legislators, talk to your BCAs, weigh in. And we urge you to do that. And you can, as I said, get that map on the website. So BCAs may also provide feedback about the majority's house map. So it's important that you do give this feedback. And at this point, even though I didn't ask you, Matt, I know because you have been very involved, I just want to make sure, just as a check, did I misspeak? Is there something else important? I know that you followed this very closely.
Sure. Thanks, Ann.
Oh, and then I see Susan Borden has her hand up. So
sure. I'm not sure there's anything that I could mention briefly. It's a pretty complex issue.
Yes.
I would just say that in general, I think that our state has, at least in the recent history, done a very good job of staying pretty far away from anything that would be considered gerrymandering. That there are some real Vermont values here about how we represent our communities in the legislature and how the districts represent that. And that the numbers are challenging for sure. They are every 10 years, but they're particularly challenging this year. There's some limits in terms of how far away from the norm you can get according to the courts. That makes it hard in terms of the numbers for the districts. And I would also note that, and I don't think you mentioned that on the Senate side, the one really quite interesting thing that's happened is that there has been an official decision to break up the Chittenden district, which is the largest single legislative district in the country in terms of number of representatives, in this case senators, number of delegates, I guess you say. So there's 6 Senate members right now from Chittenden County. Start at this next election, that will not be the case anymore. They haven't decided what it's going to be, but it won't be 6. So that's a very, very significant decision that the legislature has to make moving forward. There are a lot of other questions. There's a lot of conversations going on in the background about all this. If anyone has questions further, wants more discussion, there are a number of folks in the Democratic community who are active in this. And I don't think I want to go further than that for the interest of time.
Thank you. Susan, question.
Not a question. This is also a process, a process that I followed very, very closely.
Oh, thank you.
I think it would be probably a good idea if Asha and Claire maybe could put together a little bit of a cheat sheet for us. This very bare majority of 4 who vote. There's the board is made up of 7 people, and the vote was 4-3. At least 3 of members, maybe 4 came in. 3 at least came in determined to push single member districts for reasons that are entirely political. But what they've done is they've advanced the idea that for some reason that is really ill thought out, that single member districts are somehow more representative. And I think it would be very, very good if we could provide our Democratic Party members and those people who want to weigh in on this a little bit more richer understanding about why that argument is specious.
That's a good point.
It's not just who's making it, which is, cynical on its face, but but I think we need to probably help make the argument because it's an easy leap to make if you don't understand, if you haven't thought about it very much, and most of us
That's a good point. And we can work closely with Jeannie, with you and Matt, and make sure we'll make sure that we have that right.
Great. And the only other thing I'd like to do is second your accolade and thanks to Jeannie Albert. This was an unbelievable task, which included I can't out of scores of hours more, really trying to rework the maps. So as Matt said, the deviations could be within 10%. We're testing the courts if we permit deviations greater or lower than whatever the target per district number is. So it's unbelievably complicated. And the shifts in population, as you probably know, are very substantial. So how to do that and still respect existing communities, geography, sense of habits that people have has been a very tender and interesting task. So maybe at another meeting, we could even send Jeannie some more formal thanks, because she really was heroic in this, I think.
Yes, thank you. I agree. All right. I wanted to let you know that we, in case you missed it, we had a really terrific virtual conversation with our Speaker of the House and President Pro Tem of the Senate. And it was about an hour long. And I believe that it was recorded. And actually, I don't know, is it posted on our website? I don't even know that. Claire or Asha, do you know that? Because I'd love to have people have access to that. Maybe somebody could put that in the chat. And then I just want you to know that we're continuing along these same lines. We've invited all our statewide officers to do the same. So we'll be having a check-in with them. I'm not exactly sure if we've settled on a date yet, but stay tuned, you'll hear about that. And that's a great chance also to hear from our statewide folks. And, as the legislative session proceeds and asking, we really had a wonderfully rich back and forth Q&A. And I'm sure that our statewide elected officials will do the same. So stay tuned, that is coming up. All right. Next, and almost we're getting there, everybody. We're getting close. This is actually the last item on my chair's report before we move on to Claire. We have had discussion both within our leadership, meaning the officers of the VDP, and with folks outside who are concerned about this issue. And this is about, we have some pretty exciting primaries coming up, as we all know, and it's really fantastic. And of course, we Democrats will be supporting, once the primaries are over, we will be 100% behind whoever is running. It's a little difficult at the primary point, because I know that people have their favorites. I understand we're a small state and that's the way it works. So we Vermont Democratic Party officers prepared a statement on primaries. And I want to give a lot of credit to David Glidden, who drafted this, and then we worked together and kind of finessed it. Not finessed it, I mean, just, finalized it. And so what I want to do now is, again, this is not a formal policy. It's not a resolution. It's not going in the bylaws, but this is really kind of our ethos and principles that we 5 officers of the party have signed on to. So I'm going to read it to you, and it's also, someone's going to put it in the chat box for you. The Vermont Democratic Party should be an impartial and even-handed participant in contested primaries. This is for the sustainability and health of the party itself, and for maintaining fair and democratic primaries. To this end, we expect all party leaders to support the Vermont Democratic Party in maintaining this neutral position throughout the primary season. The reality of being a small state with Vermont Democratic Party leaders among the most politically engaged Vermonters means that it is not unusual to have party leaders connected with and supporting various campaigns. What is important is that party resources not be used or accessed in an uneven way by primary campaigns. It is expected that all party leaders will treat every candidate and campaign with respect and decorum. We ask party leaders to recognize potential conflicts of interest and act for the good of the party and its values. This means not only avoiding improprieties, but striving to the extent possible to avoid the appearance of impropriety. We also expect Democrats who hold formal positions within the VDP to refrain from any endorsement of primary candidates using their role within the party. At the end of the day, we are all Democrats. We will all go into the general election ready to fight for our Democratic nominees up and down the ballot. So that's our statement, which I'm very proud to have all five of us on board. And any comments or questions at this point? Okay, thank you very much for that. And we are now moving on to.
Hi, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I do have a question. I just want to make
Yes.
sure I heard you correctly at the end.
Yes.
Who can't, when you said that people can't support candidates in their role as officials for the Democratic Party, I just want to make sure, like, as a member of the, whatever I am, a voting delegate, that like that doesn't affect personal social media posts, for example.
You know what? We realize that is up to the individual person. So yes, personal social media posts. What we would not want to see is to say, I am endorsing so-and-so as a member of the executive committee or as the county chair.
Okay, right. That's what I thought. I just wanted to be sure. Thank you.
Yep. Yep. Very good. Thanks.
And
yes.
So I think I wanted to actually comment as well. I think the point here, I believe I'm agreeing with you, Heather, that I think the point is that when and if someone who has a party position makes an endorsement, for instance, they should not include their title in that endorsement, so that there's no confusion that you as an individual are acting on behalf of the party. So for, if you put John Smith, Lincoln County Chair, it's making something up, then there's the implication that the county Democrats have endorsed the candidate, right? Whereas if you just put your name, maybe people know you're the county chair, but they don't make the connection because you haven't said it specifically. So, and I believe that's what you're driving at here, right? Is that people are obviously free to make individual actions, but we should be careful to not connote that we're doing so on behalf of the party or using our
that is
position.
exactly right. And
Okay,
we
thank you.
wanted to be clear that that's our position. Yes. Tim, are you asking a question? Yes.
I just to say that I would hope that this could be the perspective of the entire VDP, not just the executive committee. That I think that the whole VDP should endorse this procedure and way of operating, not just the executive committee.
We hope that we will be thrilled if that's what happens. If each county kind of goes about has something similar in mind. At this point, it's not a resolution, and so it's our statement, and it's up to you folks what you do with it. Yes, Jim.
Hi. Thanks for sharing that and setting that tone and direction at the top. The one thing that my reaction to the statement that what comes to mind is that's what we're, it sets the tone for what not to do. But in terms of maintaining impartiality at the state and certainly county levels, what framework would you put out there on what we should do and can do within the framework of impartiality in terms of encouraging candidates, creating environments where they're, they're welcome and invited. I don't want to walk away thinking, we're going to wait till August to do anything.
Yeah, so to me, as part, having been a party chair, and I can't require that folks do this, and it won't necessarily happen, but as a party chair, I actually felt my job was to be completely neutral. And so I never weighed in on candidates. I know that's not always the case. Some folks already endorsed candidates even before they became party chair, for example. So it's already known. But what we do expect and hope is that every candidate is treated the same, so that if you open the door and invite one candidate in, that not only do you invite the others, but that you let folks know that you will be inviting the others, and that you let those campaigns know that they'll be invited, so that nobody feels like, we just do whatever we can to avoid that appearance of preference and favoritism. And I think if you have endorsed a candidate, then I feel it's kind of incumbent on you to even bend over backwards a little more to make sure that you do reach out to all the candidates, so that you're not treating anyone differently. Susan, I saw your hand next.
I think this is, Terry put I think an appropriate comment in the chat about all of this, but I wanted to add something else, which is, too often I think we treat neutrality, there's a kind of mutedness about what follows. And it seems to me that we've got a real opportunity here. And I'm thinking right now of our three fantastic congressional candidates, to not be mute at all as a party, but to be very loud and breastbeating and all the rest about how sensational these women are, and not wait until the primary is over as a party to be very aggressive and stirring the pot and getting and encouraging our own people to really participate. So it's a tricky thing, but I think we can do it. I think, and Asha, I think we haven't talked about it together, but I think she would be especially able to help us find that language and the moments.
I want to say, I think that's already happening. All three of our wonderful congressional candidates just have joined the Dem Club, and we proudly announced that. They each made short videos, and if you, I believe it's on Facebook right now, that you'll see that all three of them have their videos. So we are trumpeting and showing off and welcoming all three of these candidates, and we will continue to do so. And I appreciate that, Susan. Thank you. Will, I see your hand next.
With regard to the county committees, I think we should adopt resolutions at the county level regarding the candidates. I'm not really big on touting any of them too much at the early stages and having any favoritism towards any of them. So I would be in favor of having all of the counties. I know Tim just brought it up, and I hope he brings an item to the agenda so we can bring that up. And I also am curious about, with regard to the redistricting, what Susan brought up, the single member districts. Yes. And why those are so specious. I would like to be brought up to speed on that and why that is. If somebody's got some information that they can provide me of why those are not good, I would appreciate that.
Specious is a great word, and rather than take the time now, I'm going to follow up on Susan's excellent suggestion that we actually write up something and get that out to folks, so that so that you can have that as talking points. Because Will, I know you're not the only one wondering this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but I think that's a really, really good idea. Annie.
Thanks, and pardon me for not showing my face this morning. I looked like I crawled out of a compost pile. That's what I feel like. But anyway, I too am curious about the redistricting thing, but what I wanted to just add is something from my own experience in speaking out, remembering that I'm a citizen, a private citizen, as well as a member of the Democratic Party. Excuse me?
Oh, there was just some kind of funny feedback, so go ahead.
Okay. I often been in a position in my professional life of testifying before legislators in one capacity professionally, and then testifying as a private citizen in regards to something that I've been involved in that is not connected with the legislature or politics in general. And what I did was to just make clear, because many of them knew who I was. I worked with them. And I would just simply say, I am not here in my professional capacity today. I am a private citizen. I am part of whatever group I was representing in my personal life, to make it clear. And I think that's important, because we may omit making a claim for the Democratic Party, but if media is paying attention, they're going to make that connection anyway.
Very good point. That's an excellent point. And then it's almost a reminder, I feel like when you do that, it's almost a reminder to yourself, like, I am here as a private citizen. I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure that that's how I'm presenting myself. And, you're going to be especially careful to make sure that you don't have that appearance of a conflict. So once you put that out there, it really does give you that kind of reminder. I appreciate that. I just want to note that I'm not following all the chat, but boy, did Terry do a nice job of, in just a couple sentences, tell us why single member districts are really problematic. So thank you, Terry. Okay. Thanks, everyone. This is a rich conversation, and some of you will probably bring this back to your counties, and that would be terrific. I think we're ready to move on, unless I see any other hands, to our executive director's report. Claire, you are up.
Right. Thanks, Ann. Hi, everybody. Good to see you. I hope you are staying warm. I just upped the heat in my apartment by a few degrees because I live in a drafty old house, and boy, oh boy, is it cold out. But happy to see you all, and just a few things to run over with everyone. And I just want to make sure I have my notes to make sure I don't forget anything. First and foremost, I want to give you all some staffing updates. I've got some good but mildly sad news. We will be losing Spencer Dole. He is leaving to go be the field director for Molly Gray's campaign. We are endlessly proud of the work that he's done, and forever grateful for just how well he's been able to support and maintain a strong Democratic caucus. So if you haven't had a chance to connect with him, I'm sure he would love to hear from you. Any sort of well wishes. He will be staying close by here in Vermont, but he was Vermont's best kept secret for a really long time. And apparently people now found that out. So we're working with the House leadership to find his replacement, so that, our candidates or our current electeds and future candidates can all be supported in the way that they're used to and they deserve to be. So I will, of course, keep you all posted once we bring that person on. We're also very sad to say goodbye to our graphic designer. He was our production intern. He did a lot of graphic design support with Asha. Conrad, he's in his senior spring semester and wants to focus on school, and we obviously cannot, say no to that. So we're also in conversations with bringing someone new on to make sure that we have that content, that reusable content to continue to get out into the world. On that note, with staffing, next week we'll be holding interviews for our data director. We are really excited about some of the candidates that have applied and looking forward to getting that person onboarded so that they can provide the support to all of you, your town committees, your county committees, to make sure that the work that we're doing is categorized in a way that's helpful for us as we ease into the election cycle. And then additionally, as David mentioned, we will also begin the process in probably the next month or so of bringing on a coordinated campaign director to be that direct liaison to our campaigns and the work we do here at the VDP. So with that as well, just kind of a note on data, because I mentioned it. I have a really big ask of all of you, and I'm hoping I can count on you to help with this. For us, data is gold. It is the thing that we use the most. It's the only way we can run the campaigns that we want to run. And so in order to do that, we need to make sure that the data we're using is correct. A nice little adage in the organizing world is that the data that you put in, or the data that you get out, is only as good as the data that you put in. Now, many of you have lived in your town, lived in your county for umpteen years, and that's amazing. That's part of why we love working with the Democratic Party, is that kind of longevity of our communities. And so I need your help on this one. We need help cleaning up our lists. We need to know, did your neighbor move? Did a friend unfortunately pass away? Has someone got a new phone number and the one that we have in our system hasn't been their number for 10 years? We need you to help. We are offering Vote Builder 101 trainings every Wednesday. It's pretty much open office hours. I'll be there. And then once we have the data director on, they'll be there to help just show you the tips and tricks, the basics, to make sure that you have those skills. Particularly also, all town and county committees have free access to Vote Builder or VAN. So please let me know if you'd like to be onboarded, because the sooner we do this, the sooner we can get to work and really start campaigning in earnest. And so I'd like to make sure that before the spring, we're all on the same page with what we're doing and how how we're using our data. So you can sign up for that and other trainings on our website. Asha, do you mind just dropping, because I can't type and talk at the same time, just dropping in the VTDem/events. But Asha, for example, is going to be offering some social media trainings. I know a lot of you have been asking, how do I say it in the digital world? How do I do it? Promote our town or county committee in the digital space. We're all still dealing with COVID. And so it's vitally important that we have those skills available to us. So I recommend that. Similarly, we will also be, we're recording all of these videos. We had some really fantastic trainings. Show of hands, you can just kind of click your little raise hand. Who was able to attend one of the trainings last week, and who is planning on attending one of them this week? There we go. We got Jeb. But in general, we are recording these, and Asha and I are working separately on creating a resources page for all of you that's directly on the website, where you can go watch a training. If you have a question about something, you can check and see if that resource is available. If it's not, if there's something else you'd like to see, if there's a training you'd like to bring, to the party at large, or even just to your town or county committee, please let me know. My background is in community organizing, and so trainings are my bread and butter, and I want to make sure that we're providing the right ones for you. So definitely looking to build out all of those resources right now while we're starting to get into the coordinated campaign, but still just kind of waiting to see who's running. But we can always start educating ourselves at any time, since we are a year-round party. So on that note, one more thing on trainings. As Anne mentioned, we're also going to be setting up some DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings, because that, based off of that subcommittee interest form and trainings interest form that I sent in the chat earlier, and I'll make sure to include it right after I'm done. A lot of you mentioned that you'd like to have DEI training, and we heard it. We're here to help. And so I will follow up with everyone once those are on the books, to make sure that you know that they're happening and you're able to participate. Next, we are also, per the bylaws, don't we love the bylaws? We are required to present a strategic plan to the executive committee by January 31st. Ann and I are working on that, and we'll be working on that in the coming week. And we'll bring it to the executive committee first, and then that will be presented along with an updated budget for the administrative side of the party. We do not, you as a governing body, we do not bring the coordinated budget to all of you. That's determined at the table with the campaigns, because they're the ones that are paying for it. Thank you, campaigns. But we will be presenting an updated administrative budget for all of you at the March meeting. If you'd like to have some input on the administrative budget, please join the Budget and Finance Committee. We want to hear from you. We would like your feedback. We'd like your expertise. So definitely become a part of that committee if this is something of particular interest to you. And just to repeat myself, this is not the campaign budget. This is this is the budget that keeps the lights on, pays the staff, and makes sure that, the party doesn't fall apart after an election cycle. Next up. Oh, I'm almost at the end of my report. Don't we love when this happens? So one more thing that I want to make a note of, because I think it's really important that we as Democrats stand up for what we believe in, and that we really do walk the walk of our values. Prop 5 is coming up. They are hearing testimony on Wednesday. It is both in person and virtual. And I would love to see some Vermont Democrats getting up there and talking about why the Reproductive Liberty Amendment is of the utmost importance to us as a party and also to us as a state. And so if you would like any support in drafting a statement, I personally, as a private citizen of Vermont, kind of want to give one myself, because this is of vital importance, to me as a young woman here in this state. But if you want help drafting your statement, reach out to Asha. She is a genius. Yes, I swear to God, she is so good at these things and really wants to help, and also is very much involved with Planned Parenthood in her own time, and would love to support you in the presentation of your testimony. So we are happy to help and would love to encourage it. If you have a statement as well that you'd like to include in an op-ed or a letter to the editor, any of these things, we just want to make sure that people are hearing from Democrats about the values that that we all have committed to. Our platform is our strongest part of what makes us a party, and this is a really, really great way to kind of live those values. And that is the end of my list. I love when things go by quickly. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts on things? Oh, you all are wonderful.
Well, I do see there are a couple of comments in the chat box, which I'm very happy to see. One of the first things Claire told me when I came on is I can't wait to do trainings. I want to do trainings. We're doing trainings. I remember she announced it at our last meeting, and I'm just so happy to see these coming your way, and that folks are taking advantage of them, because this is perfect timing. It gets you really set up to go back to your counties and be the strong resource they need, so that we can have just the best exciting campaign season and help folks on the ground. So thanks for coming to the trainings, and I'm so glad to see that folks are benefiting from them. So thank you, Claire. All right.
Thanks, everybody. Feel free to reach out if you have questions on anything. I'm happy to talk offline.
We are now moving on to Deb. It's your first treasurer's report. So I'm turning it over to you. And I just want to say that Deb has spent a lot of time, both she's come into the office socially distanced with a mask on, and worked hard. Otherwise, we've had plenty of conversations back and forth. So you're taking this job very seriously, which is important. So take it away, Deb.
Thanks, Ann. I am. taking it seriously. All of you received in your email a couple of copies of things. One was an Excel sheet where I took the figures that were given to us in PDF by our new compliance coordinator and put them side by side. And the other were additional PDFs showing cash balances. So I wanted to make sure you had those in front of you. Let me open one more window here. There it is. Okay, so to get started, first of all, I want to say that we changed the way we're receiving our reporting. This was something we announced at the reorg meeting time. We knew this was going to happen. And as a result, our reports going forward will be clearer. This report, as Claire was saying, is specific to the state party accounts for the state committee members. And to that end, at this point, we have the P&Ls, which I've put side by side. We've been working on our chart of accounts. We've continued work on that. Kate and Claire have put a lot of energy into that. And we will be aligning those numbers with our P&L and balance sheet and so forth going forward. So the March meeting, your paperwork, it should all align. The P&Ls you see are a result of the accounting reported to our compliance consultant, Chris Patton. He's been great coming on board. And just a reminder, it is about $2,500 less for us to have Chris Patton's talents instead of the other company that the party had been going with in the past. And he's also already submitted a couple of compliance reports to the FEC, and they look great. So let's see. Also, there are some tweaks that'll need to be made on this P&L. Nothing is perfect. And I'm going to start by going down the P&L as quickly as I can with specific to questions. I did receive some questions from one of the members. I want to say delegate, but I'll be corrected by Matt Levin. So one of the members. And I appreciate any questions going into the next meeting. For example, you should be getting the budget and so forth more than one day ahead. We were a little last minute this time, but when you do, email me with any questions you might have. Email Noah, our assistant treasurer, and that way we could come to the meeting prepared. It may not be necessary because at that point we will have had our first budget and finance committee meeting, and hopefully have had a couple by then. So I just wanted to mention that. So if you look at going to the profit and loss November, December of 21, first of all, you see zeros on the social media and targeted email digital fundraising. These had not been implemented yet between reorg and the end of the year. But we did have income from a print direct appeal. The Curtis Hoff money coming in was residual left over from the Curtis Hoff digital event that was just wonderful last late summer, early fall. And the same thing with the Senate open money continued to be coming in. The first thing that is not correct is where it says membership annual monthly. We didn't, it's Claire said, data in, data out. Well, that applies to money too, clearly. We have more coming in actually than is reported here. And when I go up to Montpelier this week, we'll be making those corrections so that in December, there was not a drop. When I saw that, I emailed Kate Olney, who will be a permanent part of the Budget and Finance Committee going forward. And actually our income was about the same as November. So I will change those figures going forward. The total by source code, I had that question as well as a committee member who emailed me. What it means is undesignated or historic contributions. So they could have been bills that were due in the last election cycle, and now finally the funds were coming in. And that seemed like the best way in bookkeeping, rather than giving them their own category or muddying up current election cycle categories, just putting them as undesignated. Let's see. The next item, I'm trying to be fast about this, but that's total by source code, vote builder, web store. That's all pretty clear. DNC is all pretty clear. Let's see, what was the next one? Consultants. Oh, yes, there's a large amount under expenses for consultants in December, legal state. What this is we found when we all came to work as your new committee leadership, that there were bills owing, back bills owing, and just quite frankly, legal bills owing. And so we brought those current so that we could enter the new year with a zero balance for the legal work that had been done for us. So that's why that's so big. That was zeroing that bill out. Let's see, Curtis Hoff. What was the next one? Okay. The fundraising, oh yes. Under fundraising, NGP database subscription, again, December, you'll see a negative 650 reported. That was overpaid in November. And so we show a credit for that in December. It was paid ahead by, it happens. Let's see, operations. Where am I? Yes, okay. Under operations, you see in December, ASDC, DNC, many of our new committee members might not know that quarterly, our principal executive team is sent to a conference that's required by the DNC. So quarterly, you're going to see an expense like this. The budget, clearly, when we publish the budget to you, will show a monthly allotment to accumulate the money toward that quarterly. And additionally, travel on top of that was, there were weather-related travel things that happened, and we had to bring Claire home. So that happens as well sometimes, as you know. Okay, let's see, the membership thing I've already addressed. All right, the next question that was submitted by a member: will an annual cumulative P&L for 2021 be available soon? Short answer is no. We switched from political CFOs reporting to Chris Patton, who, like I said, has been wonderful, a wonderful new compliance person. He has produced these reports to us based on what Paul Hotelling of political CFOs sent him. But we could not shed ourselves of political CFOs. That was explained at the reorg meeting, that we couldn't get rid of political CFOs until end of October, and we couldn't get those records until sometime in November. So trying to do something through 2021, those of you who are returning state committee members have the records, the earlier records from political CFOs. I'm sure those could be made available to you if you'd like, but it would be comparing apples and oranges. What we've tried to do is, as I said before, take the budget, take the any accounts, any expenditures and revenues, and align everything with the same numbers, meaning account numbers, identifiers. So that will be going forward. Let's see. The next question was, will that report show the VDP in black for 2021? You have, that's where I call your attention to the cash balance to PDFs. Our state party funds, money in the bank was 42K in November and was almost 41K in December. So yes, we are in the black. We do not have obligations that against those that are greater than those numbers at all. Sublines of call time and print direct appeals goes back to the P&L. Oh shoot, I didn't have those. We Also, as Ann was saying, we're new and we are doing a steep learning curve on everything. We do have committed we have committed to each other that we are sitting call time going forward. We just really have not been able to do that at this point. And print direct appeals, I've already addressed. Okay, if Tim, I don't know if you were wondering about what a direct appeal is, and if you are, that's something Claire can address. But it basically means a mailer where people are being asked to join the Dem Club or asked to donate, and so on. And
Okay.
then the last question, does that do it for you?
Yeah, that clarifies what you mean by print.
Okay. So the last one was, why did salaries drop in December? Simply, I immediately, and I appreciate that question, so I immediately jumped on the payroll program, and what I saw was the last October pay period, because it went over a weekend, the Halloween weekend, if you remember. It wasn't paid till November. So we ended up with 3 pay periods in November, and then only 2 in December. And that's why it looks like December payroll is 2/3 of November. It's just simply a calendar thing because the payroll happens on a weekday. So at this point, if there are immediate questions that I can answer in quick order, that's great. And if not, I can also put my email in chat like David did, hearing no questions.
Excellent. And I appreciate what happened. I think that was a really good idea. Those of you who took the time to read and send Deb questions beforehand, I really appreciate that, because that allowed you, Deb, to get those answers and come up with them. So I think that's a really good process and speeds things up too. So, all right, I'm going to just give it a minute and we will move on. Thank you very much. On to the DNC report. I know there has not been a meeting, so, but maybe you have some secrets that you've been told that you want to share, Mary and Tim.
Well, why don't I go ahead and start? We did have a call this week. There is a meeting scheduled of the DNC for March 10th to 12th. It has not been yet canceled in person, but I'm certainly expecting that it may well be. But it was an interesting call this week, and I'm sorry if I bring everybody down by talking about the national level. But we met Tuesday with a call with Jamie Harrison, and if you think he was engaging in Charleston, he was on fire, because this was the day after the voter rights bill fell apart. And this is an issue that's particularly close to his heart and his own personal history. And I wish everybody could hear some of the eloquence that he puts forth on the issue. But if anybody thinks that the DNC isn't responding forcefully in its rhetoric, Jamie clearly said that he now views the Republican Party as the party of fear, fraud, and fascism. And I think you probably will start to see that. But if you look at what's going on with voter rights and all over the country, we really are at a precipice. So trying to keep a positive view, obviously, for the National Party. There was a lot of time spent at this meeting talking about the things that the DNC has done for investments. And for Vermont, this has been a big deal with both the state partnership grants and the SPIF monies that will be coming forward. And they talked a lot about the details, which I'm happy to relate to anybody on all the different monies that are going in around the state, and a lot of working with people of color around the state, with red states. There's money going in. That's a new thing. So there really is gearing up for 22 and 24. And one of the big items is to speak about, not be gloom and doom all the time about all the negative stuff going on with the court and with the Congress, but to talk about the Biden administration's accomplishments in spite of, the fact that we have our own people that don't get our stuff across the finish line. particularly with the American Recovery Act and all the good thing that that's done for the economy and in every state. And that's why our Republican governor is able to basically, go in front of the State of the Union, State of the State speech and talk about how great all these things that we're going to do are because of the American Recovery Act and also the infrastructure bill. So there really has been, in any other time, I think these things would be being shouted from the rooftops, but it's been so much easier to focus on the negative because that's what we see on a daily basis. But as you said up front, Ann, I think the basic call is that Jamie said is don't just get depressed, but it's time for action and everybody has to be involved. So a lot more specifics, but that's the basic thought. And I'm sort of hoping that we can continue and get together in person sometime soon. Mary, anything to add?
Thanks, Tim. Because I wasn't able to attend the meeting that Tim attended this week, I don't really have a whole lot to add. But the one thing, Jamie continues to be such an incredibly inspirational leader. And the staff that presents at these meetings are pretty impressive too. So it gives me great hope as we go into the election season. So that's about all. And I do really believe that the sooner we can get back to being in person, the better off we'll be. So maybe March, probably not, but who knows? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mary and Tim. It is good to hear, really good to hear the update from you. Okay, we're moving on to new business. And in new business, I am going to ask Ed Cafferty to briefly explain and read about an issue that he's brought to our attention. And we've had a couple of back and forth conversations about this. And I've also been in consultation with the bylaws committee. So this is not a resolution at this point, but it's a really very vital issue that Ed has brought to the attention of the party that I think more of you will be interested in too. So Ed, can I hand it to you to read what you sent in?
Chittenden County, we've been very active in the whole question about proportional representation in the legislature. And one of the things that have come out or spun off from that conversation is representation on the State Democratic Committee. And when you look at the population, the US Census population, Chittenden County is 26% of the state population now. And we have some counties which have about 1% of the population. But all counties send the same number of delegates, representatives to the State Democratic Committee, which is 3. So the Chittenden County Democrats had this discussion and came up with this motion, which I will read to you. On October 27th, the Chittenden County Democratic Committee approved the following motion unanimously. The state democratic bylaws shall be amended to have the county representatives on the State Democratic Committee be based on counties' share of the statewide population using the most recent US Census data. All counties will be guaranteed a minimum of 3 delegates. Ann has been talking with me about this, and we've also had discussions with Matt, and the proposal is to refer this motion to the bylaw committee because it would require a bylaw change if we changed the way we assign delegates from counties to the State Democratic Committee, so that the bylaw committee would consider, this issue and come back to the full committee with recommendation. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Ed. I think a really important part of this is that this is a very big issue. It's been kind of mumbled and grumbled about for some time, but we really can't ignore it. The population differences are tremendous. And it does make sense to have this conversation. A really important part of what the bylaws committee will be doing is, I believe once the election is over, they'll be setting up a process so that we can get input, so that it won't be the bylaws committee that just, says, oh, this is what we should do. There are already, I've already heard informally all kinds of different ways we could do this. There are, clearly we're not going to do it directly by population, because then I don't know how many, but Chittenden County would have 104 members or something like that. We're not going to do that. But it is an issue that needs attention, and there is a need to look at increasing the representation of those counties that have much more population than others. So Matt and the bylaws committee, and I want to say the bylaws committee is eagerly looking for new members, and this is going to be a fascinating issue. As someone who has been on the bylaws committee before, to me, it really matters what the bylaws committee does. So I hope that we can get some new blood in there, and this is going to be a really important issue. And I'm going to leave it there unless, Matt, you want to say a couple words about this.
Just to reassure folks, it is on the list. It was already on the list. I appreciate the Chittenden's official action to ensure it's on the list. As the chair has indicated, I have been given very clear instructions that there will be public process on this, and it's a really technical discussion. So there'll be both a public process, and then the subcommittee will roll up their sleeves and have a very technical discussion about the options. As Ann says, there are a number of different ways to do this. And whatever we do will be a proposal that will be fully discussed by the state committee before anything is adopted. So a long road quickly traveled. The hope is to have this resolved well in time for our next reorganization, so we get it figured out, have it all set up and ready to go for the next time we reconstitute ourselves as a state committee. So
and
looking,
I want to
looking
say
forward
that,
to the discussion.
Yeah, I really appreciate Ed and the Chittenden County Committee bringing this to our attention. This is something that absolutely needs to be addressed. Is there other new business? I don't think so. Yes.
I just want to let everyone know that the Chittenden County Democratic Committee is having a candidates forum on January 31st online with the 3 people running for Congress. And we're calling it a forum. We have set up, a process for doing it. It's open to all our county committee members, as well as our town and city Democrats as well. If there are any other counties that wish to hold a similar event and want to get in contact with me to find out how we're going about doing it, I'll be more than willing to tell them and provide that information.
Thanks, Ed. That's great. And I know that already Orange and Washington County are planning on forums as well. That will be later in the spring. And I welcome county chairs to discuss this with your counties. I have a feeling that our candidates would be very happy to show up at your meetings. And Ed, is this meeting going to be open just to Chittenden County folks or beyond?
Well, we have limited it to Chittenden County at this point.
Okay.
But let me just say one thing. If there are some party leaders that would like to, sign on to hear how it goes, I'd be more than happy to open the door for them.
Okay, and I think what you're inviting also, if a county chair wanted to understand how you're going about it, that would, so they can contact you. Thank you very much. That's great. That kind of segues right into other announcements. Are there announcements? Yes, Dave.
Hi, I just want to take this opportunity to let everyone know of some really exciting legislative action going on. Our state Democratic platform last year called for a new approach to our drug poisoning crisis that's growing, and more and more people are dying every year from drug overdoses that are completely preventable. And our platform calls for treating the drug problem as the health crisis that it is, rather than the failed criminal approach. I've helped introduce Bill H644, which calls for the decriminalization of personal use drug possession across the board. The bill has 42 legislative co-sponsors. About 30 something of those are Democratic legislators. It is of all the bills introduced across the country on this topic, this one has the most support of any in any state. And we're really proud of that. We had some in-depth testimony in the House Judiciary Committee just yesterday, and more coming next week. This is really exciting, innovative, groundbreaking stuff going on in the Vermont legislature, leading the country. And as Democrats, we should all be proud of what we're trying to do here to make people's lives better and make society more just. And if anyone has any questions about drug decriminalization or age 64, or would like to find out how you can help support this push, please just get in touch with me. I'm very easy to find. Thank you.
Ryer Erickson, yes.
Yeah, thank you. So Monday is the filing deadline for petitions for town meeting day. The governor signed in to law a waiver of all petition signatures needed. So, and I know the Republicans have put forward like a press release calling for Republicans to run for things like school board, especially school board. I would really hope that as Democrats, we push for local elections and push for participation in local elections, because I think that's really where we're going to get a groundswell of support of younger, specifically BIPOC, LGBTQIA+, et cetera, citizens. And so in the future, I hope that's something we really focus on, because I think it's important. But in the meantime, if you are thinking of running for, city council, select boards, school board, et cetera, I hope that you get in your information to your town clerk Monday by 5, which is the deadline. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryer. And I want to say that Claire, if she said it once, she said it a dozen times. Town meeting day is our practice for the election. We need to do as good a job getting folks out to vote for town meeting day, and making sure that they support our candidates. As it's really like understanding the power of our county and town committees to push these, to get behind candidates, to support them. So I really second what you're saying. And as far as candidates, I know that Emerge is one of the groups that's working very hard on getting candidates. And there are a couple of others that have also really been behind. I know there's a very exciting group that, and I can't remember the name of it, maybe Ryer knows, that's been holding trainings for BIPOC folks. And I really hope that we'll be seeing some new, young and old candidates out of that group. So it's really good to know that we have folks on the ground doing this work.
I have a question.
Yes.
And I'm sorry to delay the meeting, but someone just mentioned that Phil Scott put out a press release asking Republicans to run for school board, and the Rutland County Democrats have been harshly criticized in the past for telling people about candidates and supporting them. Can you send me that link or something so I can find it, so I can be like,
I'm sure Asha can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Really good point. Thank you. Yeah.
Just for clarification, it wasn't actually Phil Scott. Phil Scott signed the legislation waiving signatures. It was actually the Republican chairman or whatever he is. Yeah.
Okay, I still want it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, thanks for that. Okay, anything else before we close? I want to say that I see that our platform chair and maybe some others, and I've missed the chat, are doing a great job marketing. They're asking for folks to join. So we are very actively seeking you folks to be involved in these subcommittees. It's where it's happening, and you will be part of what's going on at the state committee, and you'll be able to bring that back to strengthen your own counties. So yes, we would love to have you. Unless, at a certain point there's too many, but that's not happening yet. So Deb.
Number of wonderful links put in chat today. And just if everyone knows, if you click on chat, the far right at the bottom, you have 3 dots, 3 like a little ellipses. And if you click on that, you can save the chat right to your own computer or your phone. That way you've got all of those links and all of that helpful discussion if you need to go back to it.
Thanks, Deb. I learned that from you last time around. Okay. Anything else? Great meeting, everybody. So good to see you all. And here's hoping, I'm not promising, but well, no, I can't promise at all that in March we'll be in person, but maybe. I'd love to see all of you. Okay, stay warm out there. And I am hereby adjourning at 11:06 in the morning. So have a good weekend, everyone. Thanks so much. Keep up the
If
good
you all
work.
want to turn your cameras on real quick, I'll take a screenshot.
Yeah, everybody wave or do something fun.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
good.
everybody wave.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
And
Bye.
thank you, Bob, for recording this meeting.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Have a great weekend, folks.